is the Active Church. To God be the glory.
I want you to turn to Luke chapter 5, verses 1 to 11. He takes the gospel to where the people are. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You've got to take the gospel to where the people are. Jesus goes there. The oaks were fishing. He's in the marketplace. He's in the workplace. That is why it doesn't matter who is in the church. It doesn't matter what their job is. Their calling is to go out and preach the gospel. You notice this is the workplace. So they're there by the water's edge and they were washing their nets. What have they been doing? They've been fishing all night. Guys, look at me. You're going into the lives of people and all they want to do is fish. So here's the thing. All right? The people are busy. They're not waiting for you to come and to win them. They're fishing. They're trying to earn an income. They're trying to fall in love. They're trying to save their marriage. They're trying to find a marriage partner. They're trying to get out of a marriage. They're trying to have children. They're trying to kill their children. They're trying to get their children back. They're trying to get their children to get a job and move out. They're trying to get to the next party. They're trying to get over the depression of a mundane life where they're in a rut and every day is just the same and they're waiting to die. That's what they're doing. They're not waiting for you to come and tell them about Jesus. And some people have made the gospel look very bad to them. Look at me. Some people are trying to win someone to Jesus and you stuffed up the reputation of Jesus with that person that other person's trying to win. Because they saw your example and they said, no ways, after looking at you, if that's what a Christian is, I don't even want to be in church. That's the reality. So notice where Jesus is preaching. He's preaching where the people are. He's not just standing in the temple preaching, oh Rabbi, thou art Rabbi. He's not there. This isn't anywhere near the temple. In that time, you're not really supposed to preach it by the water's edge where the fishermen are, because it stank. Have any of you been there where the fishing boats are? By a harbor. It stinks. And so then it says, he got into one of the boats. So now he says, hey, businessman, can you help me out? The one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little from the shore. Listen, dude, could you stop washing your net? I want to preach a little bit more. There's a big crowd here, and I actually need a bit of gap between me and the crowd so that my voice can bounce off the water so they can all hear me, because he didn't have sound system. He didn't have a mic. He could pick up a stick, but it wasn't going to help much. All right? So Simon obliges, because obviously Simon has heard some teaching. And he's heard, you know what? Let me do this because this guy sounds like he's interesting to listen to. And then it says, so they put out a little from the shore. Then he sat down in the boat and taught the people. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep water and let down your nets, the nets for a catch. Now I want you to look at me. So now you involve yourself in their lives. Why don't you go catch some fish? Why don't you put out and go catch some fish? Why don't you go and make some money? Why don't you go ask that girl out and see if she's interested? This is how you can get her. And then it says, Simon answered, Master, we've worked all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets. So now we find out Peter's life's not so great. You thought he's a businessman. He owns a boat. That oak's freaking rich. Look, he's cleaning his nets. Yo, he must have caught a lot of fish. That oak's rolling in the bucks, eh? Hey, Shane, he didn't go to Peter and say, Peter, could you give me some money for petrol for the boat, eh? Peter doesn't have any money. They fished the whole night and they haven't caught anything. His business is going bankrupt. His family is falling apart. His wife is saying she should never have married the idiot because her mother was right about him. He's never going to amount to anything. There's problems here. We haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will put on the nets. In other words, you know what? I've tried this thing before, but I've listened to what you've said about Jesus, and because of what you say, I'm going to try it again. Maybe I'll try and get back with my wife one more time. Maybe I'll try and speak to that child who doesn't want to listen one more time. Maybe I'll try and reconcile with my father or my mother. Just because you sounded powerful. And so, something tells me if I listen to you, it may just work. In other words, you hear what Jesus is saying. He's saying, look, I'm going to show you something by solving your problem. Your problem is this. You don't have any money. Are you all listening? You're failing at school. Let me take you to the Active Study Center. Why don't you try once more? Just one last time. Maybe you'll pass. Just one last time. Maybe you'll pass. So because Jesus said it, he says, I'll do it. When they had done so, so now they do so. So you notice now, not every disciple that Jesus called listened to Jesus. So you've got to wait for the ones who listen to you. When they had done so, in other words, you're telling people this all over the place. You keep telling people more and more, like the session that I did in June. You got to keep out. You got to keep on preaching the word. You got to keep on going out all the time, telling people about Jesus. Keep on, keep on, keep on. Don't wait for that one person that you've been trying to get to church for 6 years. You keep out. Now the one who does what you say, now watch what happens. When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So now what happens? They signaled to their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And so they came and filled both nets so full that they began to sink. It worked. We're struggling. Our business is failing. People are prepared to pay top dollar for fish, but we can't get any fish. We got nothing to sell. And now all of a sudden, Jesus says, listen, go out there and go chuck over your nets. We did that all night, Jesus. We were fishing right there. But because you say so, we'll do it. So out they go. They chuck the nets. And now, guys, we're sinking. Come quick, quick, quick. And they're trying to get the fish into the boat, but the nets are breaking. They've got so many fish. When Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man. I want you to understand something. When you pour yourself out and God comes through and miracles happen, some of those people are going to want to worship you, and then you've got to point them to Jesus. Because things are going to work to such an extent that they are flabbergasted and they actually think that they're not good enough to be in your presence. But notice it's the one who does what you'll say. You got to keep preaching the word until you find the ones that will do what you say. Notice Jesus didn't try and force Peter. He says, listen, put out. Peter could have said no. Peter says, look, I don't understand why you're telling me to do this, because we've been doing that all night and we caught nothing. But because you say so, I'll do it. And then it says, for he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, don't be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. Okay, up until this time, Jesus asked him, listen, do me a favor while you're cleaning your nets. Just pull the boat out a little so that I can teach from you. I think you'll like my teaching. Peter says, yeah, no, that's cool. Pulls out there. So Jesus teaches. Obviously, the teaching's impressive, and Jesus has a reputation already. When he's finished teaching, he says, okay, Peter, now let me help you. Go out there, chuck your nets. Now it's daytime. You don't fish in the daytime. You fish at night. So Peter was fishing at the right time in the natural, catches nothing. Jesus tells him, go chuck your net out now in the daytime, which is the wrong time to fish. And he catches a catch of fish like he's never seen before. And now only Jesus says to him, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. I will make you fishers of men. Here's the thing. Vicky was speaking to someone this morning, and it was about the 10th such conversation I've either heard about or been involved in since like Saturday. And someone was being invited to church, and the person was being invited, yeah, when you come to church, you have to have 12. You have to have 12. Now, that's an invite I've heard many times. That's like Jesus saying, hey, Peter, while you're washing your nets there, just drop the nets, come with me. You won't fish, you'll fish for men. Peter's not coming. Jesus hasn't shown him anything yet. Why would anyone want a 12? Isn't being responsible for your own life enough? Now you must be responsible for your own life. If you're married, you must be responsible for the life of the person you're married to. And if you got kids, you must be responsible for them too. Plus, you're responsible to that flipping boss. Plus, Standard Bank's on your case because you're betting to pay the bond, or the landlord's coming threatening to lock you out. And now you must worry about 12 other people's problems. And you must pay for them for deactivation. Are you freaking nuts? My life's a mess already. Now come to church as lacquer, then you have to do tasks. You don't have to do any freaking thing. The only time you have to do tasks is if you want what Jesus had, which was fishers of men. If you want what Jesus had when he reaped the harvest of the church. If you want to be a father or mother of nations, yeah, then you have to do tasks. And why do you have to do tasks? You have to do them because you want to. Why do you want to do tasks? Because you actually love the people. You see, if you go out with that kind of an attitude, now imagine if Shane, when he was trying to win Bernice, buys her flowers because he has to do a task on Pastor Pro. Here's your flowers, Pastor Pro, tick. Bernice wouldn't be wearing Shane's ring. At that point, he would have had a big red mark of a hand on his face, and that would have been the closest he ever got to her. He would not have kissed her, he would just felt the full force of her hand print upon his face. If he treated her like that, he's not going to get her. If you don't love your disciples, you're not going to reproduce yourself. And I want you all to focus now. I want you to seriously listen. Okay, don't be on cell phones. You look guilty. Kleisha, you look guilty. You and old Rochelle there with your arm around her. Yeah, you look guilty together. If you love your disciples, the only thing that'll happen is that Pastor Pro's your admin. It's stuff you would have done anyway. So what happens with these guys? So they've got this catch, and it says, so they pulled up their boats on shore and left everything and followed him. They left everything and followed him. I want you all to look at me. All of you, I want you to look at me. Even if you've got a child on your lap. Even if they're being a terrorist, fussy, and you're trying to hold them from the fan. I want you to listen to me. Are you really telling me that you don't want people that will leave everything to follow you? Are you really going to tell me that you really don't want that? Let me ask it this way. How good must you be that people will leave everything to follow you? I don't know about you, but maybe you think people are idiots. People don't leave everything to follow you. Okay? But if you want people to leave everything to follow you, and not everyone will, not everyone follow Jesus, but if you want anyone to, if you want to be able to get 12 to, then you've got to bring the miracles of God into their lives. You've got to bring the presence of God into their lives. You've got to introduce them to Jesus. You've got to make the gospel as attractive, or you've got to try and make the gospel as attractive as what it really is. Because it's incredibly attractive. When you understand grace, there's no message anywhere in the universe that even comes close to grace. I still cannot believe that people are into evolution. Yay! Once we were monkeys. Yay! We shared common ancestors. Yay! And then we're going to die and we're going to feed the worms. And then we're going to be in the circle of life in the worms. Yay! Oh, how fantastic. People spend their whole life getting exciting, looking at old bones and all sorts of stuff, and skeletons and fossils and all those sorts of things, just to find out that they're going to be part of the circle of life and they're going to die and they're going to be worm food, and that's it. Popping daisies. People get excited for that. We have the gospel. So what am I saying to you? That's how you get people to activation. You got to tell them about Jesus. People that you've already gotten, you got to tell them about Jesus. You got to tell them how awesome it's going to be. You got to tell them what they need to hear. I can't tell you exactly what to say, because I'll say different things to different people. If I'm speaking to a person that's unsaved, I'm not going to say the same things as I would to someone who's a pastor. The same thing's not going to get them. Do you hear what I'm saying? You got to know the person, you got to know Jesus, and you got to know the gospel. All right, and so we're going to have the meeting stuff just at a high level. You got to get them to the message. Okay, I'm summarizing now. You got to get them to the message. They were interested in the message, but only if he took the message to their boat. Sometimes you got to take the message to their house where there's a marital fight on the go, or whatever. Get them to the message. And then what he realized was, although Jesus probably, but if we're doing what Jesus did, then we'll realize this. What he realized was what they were doing wasn't working. Do you hear what I'm saying? What they were doing wasn't working. Their life wasn't working. They weren't happy. So now you get the gospel and you get the message to them. Now you start finding out things aren't working. Once they start trusting you a little bit, you find out it's not working. And then Jesus helped make it work. And he did so with miracles. You want to bring the miracles of God into their lives. And then after that, after they solved their problems, then Jesus called them. So how do you help them make it work? Well, you get them on life class. And you go through the life class with them. And then Jesus called them. Now you say, right, Destiny training is going to cost you $50 for your booklets. J Activation, it's going to be awesome. 4 nights of heaven. There's going to be a production, active worship at J Activation. It's going to be the best thing under the sun. That's what you do. That's what you say. You understand what I'm saying? That's how you invite people. Pastors, what do you say to them? You probably have like a film over your ministry then, and you feel like it's holding you back. And now what do? You come to J Activation because we're going to explore how you break that membrane that's holding you back. How do you take your church and shatter that membrane so that you can grow and explode? How do you get your leaders to grow? Pastors want to hear that. Okay, Vix, can we just keep control there? All right, do you hear what I'm saying? Do you see there? I've given 2 examples.
Before he came into the world, darkness reigned all over the place. Coming as the light, he took our sin, gave us his light, commanding us to shine. We are sons of light, piercing darkness with his bright light. So I'm gonna be the light